i4Homes TV presents Buying Your Dream Home Today with Kathy Nelson and Tracy Nelson. And now, Kathy and Tracy.
Hello, happy Friday, and welcome to the show. I'm Kathy.
And I'm Tracy, and we are a husband and wife real estate broker team with John L. Scott in Redmond, Washington.
And you're watching Buying Your Dream Home Today, a weekly webcast show that happens every Friday at noon.
These shows are focused on getting you the information that you need in order to go out and buy your dream home with confidence.
And today's topic is
Home inspections.
Yeah. A home inspector can be your best friend.
Certainly can. You definitely want to know what you're getting into when you go out and...
Such a big investment.
Definitely.
Yes.
So to help us understand a little bit more about home inspections and the process that you'll be going through, we have with us today Bill Easter of Move Smart Home Inspections in Covington, Washington.
Hello, Bill.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Very good. Thank you again for being a guest on our show today.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, well, I grew up in the Kent area. My dad and uncles were firemen, so I grew up hanging around the firehouses and hearing stories about what they did. I worked construction as I grew up, did some roofing and framing and drywall and remodel work. I played college baseball. I went into the U.S. Navy, got out of the Navy. The whole family by that point was in the construction fields. We had an electrician, plat managers for D.R. Horton, Murray Franklin, and both the Buchan brothers, electricians. So that was all the family talk. If you went to a Christmas party, all that was talked about, the guys would get in their group and it was all construction. And so I kind of was drawn to that, but I also didn't want to swing a hammer the rest of my life. And I had an uncle who was a home inspector, so I got involved in that. I graduated from the American Home Inspector Training Institute. I acquired a state license to be a pest inspector. This is in 2002. Back then, we did not have home inspector licensing in the state of Washington. That didn't happen until 2009.
Really?
I've now done over, I'll talk about that,
Okay.
how many states have it and when we got it and all that. But I've done over 2,500 home inspections. My company's done over 6,000. I was an elected representative for the Western Washington chapter of the American Society of Home Inspectors, so I would go back to the national convention and represent the home inspectors of our area. And I used to teach a lot of classes to real estate agents about what is a home inspection, what are the findings, what is the process.
Nice.
That's kind of my background.
We have kind of a rock star of home inspections on today.
Well, I've been at it 13 years, and I own a multi-inspector firm. About 90% of home inspectors are one guy with a phone in his pocket. That's called a one-man shop. 10% of us are multi-inspection firm owners. So I have 7 employees, 3 state licensed inspectors. So, I'm an inspector. I do inspections, but I also have to look at the big picture and stay up to abreast of what's going on nationally in our industry, what's going on in the state. Kind of everything in the industry.
Very cool. Sounds like a big job.
Yeah. And sounds like you love it too.
Yeah, I was just saying it, you don't put that kind of effort into something, or you shouldn't, I should say, if you don't like it. I've liked it from the beginning because it's a protection industry. I'm really drawn to protection industries. When you have people that are, buying a house and they know a few things about it. They know they like the price, the school district, the kitchen, the bathroom, something about it. They like it, maybe more than one thing. But what they don't know is, what are they buying? What are the hidden things? And for most people, there's that old saying, this is the single biggest financial move you'll make in your lifetime, buying that $500,000 or sometimes around here, $2 or $3 million home. So It's a big investment.
It is.
Well, and also those houses, a lot of the houses in this area are older. Not all of them are new. So they've got some, you don't know what's underneath the cover, as you say, I guess.
Well,
right.
Let's get into the first question here. What is a home inspection? You mentioned protection just a moment ago, and certainly it is a big part of it is protecting the buyer. How does it protect the buyer?
Well, first thing to know about a home inspection is it's a snapshot in time. So just like if you took a camera and took a picture of a house, that's what that house looks like that day. If you look at that picture 10 years later, that's what the house looked like 10 years ago. Well, a home inspection report is a snapshot in time. So we go in and we analyze all the systems and components in the home. And, we everything from underneath the house in the crawl space to the top of the roof. And we evaluate everything to see what kind of a condition it's in. That's the condition it's in that day. So we call that a snapshot in time. Now, something that will really be helpful to know is that a home inspector is just like a general practitioner physician. So if you go get a physical from your doctor, he knows enough about the systems and components of your body to tell you if anything needs fixed or if you should go see a more specialized person like a heart surgeon or a brain surgeon. A home inspector is just like a general practitioner physician. He knows enough about each system in the home to evaluate it, decide if it's okay, decide if it needs fixed, or in some cases, decide if a more advanced professional needs to come out and look at a system. Doesn't happen very often, but it does happen.
Name an example of having another professional come in and check out.
What would have happened? What would you see in a house that might require that?
Well, I'll give you a recent example. 2 months ago, I went to look at a house. It was up in Redmond, actually, and it was surrounded by a creek. And when I mean surrounded, I mean it was built somewhere they would never let you build a house today. They built this house within this creek. It was a small creek, but it actually wrapped right around the house on 3 sides of the house. So they built the house within 10 feet of the creek, and it was all low-lying land, not really hardly any rock in the area. And they built the house with the creek wrapped around it. Back in the 1940s, when we didn't have building codes, back then the mentality was, you own the land, do with it whatever you want.
Yes.
Now we have rules. Okay, so they built this house right next to the creek. Well, the creek floods. So when the creek floods, I knew right away, looking at the creek in the house, that when it floods, there's probably water that comes up out of the creek and goes under this house.
Ooh.
When I started looking at the house, I put 2 or 3 clues together, and I figured out pretty quickly that this house has been sinking into the earth. It's actually settling down. It's gone down about 12 to 14 inches. Now the crawl space hatch is mostly submerged. The siding is touching the earth. So basically, we have a house that is sinking.
That doesn't sound very good.
Oh my gosh.
And by the way, this is a big piece of land with a $900,000 purchase price.
Whoa.
So mainly because of the land. The home was older and small, but the land was beautiful. The creek was there. There was actually a second structure, a mother-in-law house. So anyway, the house was sinking. I had to contact a professional, or recommend they contact a structural engineer. Now, they didn't really want to hear that, but sometimes we deliver news that they don't really want to hear. That's an example of that.
Yeah, it sounds like, going right into the next question, why would you get a home inspection? Should a buyer ever bypass this step? It almost sounds like too easy for you to answer there.
Yeah, well, I can tell you this. Here's one side. Sometimes realtors will tell buyers, you're buying new construction, you don't need a home inspection. We have never inspected a new home where we didn't find things wrong. In fact, 4 times we've inspected new homes where they'd been signed off by the building inspector, said they are done, they're ready to occupy, you have your certificate of occupancy, and there was no insulation in the attic at all.
Oh my
4
gosh.
times we found that. Every time the builder's rep came over, because they were still building on site, they said, that's ridiculous, there's no way that's true. Then they'd get up on my ladder, they'd look and go, oh my gosh, and then they'd call the insulation contractor. So a lot of times these workers go in and out of houses and nobody's checking on them. So the county inspector comes in and signs off, and everybody thinks everything's perfect, and it never is. We always find things.
Like I said at the beginning of the show, you are a buyer's best friend.
Well, a home inspection is $300 to $400, and I can't imagine. We found a house once where it had all been repainted inside and out. It looked great. It was up in Burien. I went in the attic, and here was an indicator here. The attic had been painted. Somebody had painted the inside of the attic white. That never happens. So I started digging at the wood with a tool, and I found out that this attic had been burned in a fire, and the 2x4s were charred. They no longer had their original dimensions or strength, but instead of doing that insurance claim or doing that repair, they just spray painted it, hoping nobody would notice, because that also blocks the odor of the burn, with Kills type paint. So, I can't imagine anybody buying any house without a home inspection.
Yet sometimes these days they do. They bypass that that inspection process in order to make a stronger offer. It doesn't seem like that's a very good idea.
No, we do that. You know what? We handle that problem all the time, though. We do pre-offer inspections, and we have a
good point. Yes.
We have a major systems inspection that's it's a cheaper price. We look at the 8 things in the home that can cost the most money, and then they get that done before they make their offer, so they can make what they call a clean offer without a contingency. But at least they're armed with the information.
That is a really good point. In this market in Washington here, it's so fast and there's so many offers on the table for any kind of home. So it's really important that if there is a possibility, do that pre-inspection if possible. I like that suggestion.
Very good. Well, when a home inspection is completed, what is the final product? What is it that the buyer is going to receive from the home inspector?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a lot of answers to that. One of them is, and this is the most important thing, peace of mind. So you now know, you know what you're buying, because before that, you don't know what you're buying. You just know you want it. You don't know if it's a good purchase or a bad purchase. Looks like my phone.
Yeah, you're going out just a little bit here for a moment.
It's okay.
But the topic is really good. I mean, this is important stuff, and a home inspection is obviously so important.
And really popular with this market too, especially that pre-inspection. We just had one recently that he was talking about the foundation too.
Right. The foundation of this house that was being inspected, the inspector came out and poked a stick, a long screwdriver, underneath the foundation. Well, it's supposed to hit the foundation. It's not supposed to go underneath. The foundation was very shallow, and was not a suitable foundation. It was substandard foundation, and it ended up that the buyers decided smartly, rightly so, decided not to buy that house.
Thank goodness, because that would have been a lot of work and a lot of money in the future for them.
Another inspection we went out on and helped our buyers with. The house was actually a beautiful house, and that one turned out great. And again, like Bill was just saying, it provides a level of confidence that they are buying the right house.
Yeah, it is. And we're having difficulties with our guest. His phone shut off. There we go. He's back.
Oh my gosh, my phone shut off. It said due to heat.
Yeah.
I've never had that happen.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, people are saying, "Where'd he go? We loved that. We loved his stories." Okay, so.
Well, I can finish that question if you like.
Of course.
Sure.
We would
All
love
right.
that.
So the main thing is peace of mind. You know what you're buying, but you're getting a report, which is information which you need in the transaction. You cannot, unless you're buying as is, you're able to negotiate and ask for things, but without a written report that's easy to read, you're not going to be able to do that. Also education, the findings in the home. We call anything negative a finding. Also what it takes to fix them. We always tell people, well, this is what it would take to fix that, or this is the person that would fix that. We do a structure. Well, go ahead.
Because they could buy that house with those problems, what'd you call them? Findings. And still, buy the house with no problem and know that they could fix that when they have the house. So go ahead,
right.
Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. And then we do a structural pest inspection. So that's a separate state license, and that's looking for wood-destroying organisms like termites and carpenter ants, anabaeid beetles, moisture ants, but also the things called conducive conditions that can create a habitat where those animals or insects and organisms want to move in. We also use infrared cameras to look for hidden problems in the walls or at breakers.
Isn't that
So-
amazing? Yeah, that's so amazing.
Yeah, so we can now look beyond the walls, something we couldn't do 10 years ago. And then, the main thing is the education, putting people at ease, but educating them, because also we give them a maintenance guide. So every season of the year is listed and every component of the home. So if you just go to, if it's fall, you go to fall, you look at roof, and there's 2 bullet points. It says, do these 2 things to your composition roof in the fall.
And you put that on your website too. You have a maintenance page and advice, and you talk about the maintenance of homes and what to do in the winter, spring, summer, fall.
Right.
So you have a lot of good stuff on your website.
Yeah, thank you. So you're going to sell it again someday, probably. I mean, my grandpa, we just sold his home. He bought it in 1953. We just sold it. My dad bought his house in 71. He still lives in it, my dad and my mom. But those days aren't really here anymore. People now buy a house, they stay 7 years, they move.
Yeah.
So you're going to have some other guy inspect that house in about 7 years, and he's going to find things. So what you want to do is do maintenance the best you can so that he doesn't find much.
That's a good point. A very good point too.
So what is the most interesting thing you've ever found during
I
an
was going to ask
inspection?
him that too.
Well, interesting. There's some stories I probably should keep to myself about the people that are in homes. But some people won't leave their homes for the inspection. So they follow you around and they ask you, what are you typing? What are you doing right now? But as far as the homes themselves, we have found, dead animals in crawl spaces, lots of mice and rats. I found a home, it was a rambler, and they had cut a huge hatch out of one of the rooms. They built a ramp up to it, and they were using it as an auto repair shop. So when I lifted the hatch and went into the crawl space, it was full of old motor oil. But nobody knew that because the crawl space hatch was in place. It was unusually big, but nobody thought anything of that. Well, that's because it was the mechanic's pit. He would drop down into the crawl space and then drop the oil into. So it was, somebody doing repairs, automotive work at their home without a license, without the right to do that. But when you buy a house, you buy those problems. You buy whatever's there.
And they tried to hide that?
Well, they didn't disclose it. That's a lot of times on those disclosure forms, you see a lot of I don't knows. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Yes.
Well, I don't know if they know or not, but I'm there to find out. So, things like that. Unheated rooms. Are there bedrooms that have no heat to them? Sometimes I was under a manufactured home recently, and all the heating ducts had been chewed open by rats. So when they turned the furnace on, they were just heating the crawl space. They weren't heating the home at all.
I don't know if your job would be fun.
Well, it's funny. A lot of people wonder, we're there about 3 hours and we make, we're making $100 an hour or whatever. And maybe people think, oh, they get paid too much. And then we go in that crawl space. And when we come out, we have a bump hat on. A lot of times there's spider webs hanging off of it. And we're crawling through rat droppings and rat urine. And then I think people say, okay, they deserve it.
Yeah, they do. Definitely deserve it.
Yeah, actually, knowing about the ins and outs of a house, though, is very interesting. I mean, and the history. Yes.
Oh, I think so. And I think when we find old electrical panels that aren't made anymore because of fire danger and they're still in houses, that's when, as the son of a fireman, and my uncle was a fireman, I feel good when I find stuff like that. Or when I find breakers that have been arcing and there's burn marks at the panel, and I know this house could burn.
Yes.
I mean, that's when it's really worth it.
That's what
to
you're
me.
doing. You're protecting the buyer, and that's wonderful.
Yeah.
It is.
That's good.
All right. Well, Bill, can you give us your contact information? Let
Yeah, tell
everybody
us.
know where they can find you.
Sure, absolutely. So we're at movesmart.net, so www.movesmart.net, and then our phone number is 253-631-4019. That's our scheduling number, and we have a live scheduler that schedules 7 days a week. So a lot of guys, you just go to voicemail because they're in the crawl space and that cell phone's in their pocket. But we have a lady that schedules all the time for us.
That's funny. Is it a good idea too to call you for a pre-inspection if the sellers wanted to do that too?
Yeah, we do that. You know, funny thing is, in Canada, that's widespread and normal. And in America, it's been much harder to get people to switch to that. Only 30% of people do. But we have some realtors, especially on the east side, who they have us do every house, every one of their listings. We pre-inspect it. And the reason for that is it's kind of like if you go to a Honda dealer and buy a pre-inspected used car versus a used car they bought at an auction. And when you say, do you have any maintenance records for this car? And they say, no, we don't know anything about it. You know, when you have a pre-listing inspection, we print that report out. It's in the home. You can get top dollar for your house because you have a lot of times you see all those I don't knows on the disclosure form, and that looks kind of shady. The opposite end of the spectrum is someone who says, listen, I hired someone to come in and inspect the house because I want to know and I want you to know if there's any issues.
Yeah.
And that just makes you look like your integrity is off the charts,
Yes.
and therefore you deserve to charge a higher price for your house.
Correct. Very nice. And you have love for that house too. Yes, nice. All right. Thank you so much, Bill.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it has.
Oh, you're welcome. Sorry about the phone.
That's all right.
It's fine.
Thank you.
So,
All right, have a good day.
Bye-bye.
and
Bye.
today you have been watching Bill, who is an inspector, and I don't know how we would sell houses without people like him.
Right.
Yeah, so it's been wonderful talking to him.
Makes all the difference in the world to
Yes.
have that confidence when you're going to buy that dream home.
Dream home. So this is Kathy and Tracy with Buy Your Dream Home Today. And thank you again for watching, and we will see you next Friday.
Bye-bye.